The fallout from the catastrophic Mercedes EQE fire in Seoul a couple of weeks ago continues to spread. Not only are Koreans desperately trying to unload their EVs onto the used market as confidence in the products drops like a stone, but governments and insurers are scrambling around to deal with the potential safety and financial impacts of the event. As we'll see in this video, not only are insurance premiums going to skyrocket as insurers wake up to the fact that EV fires cause exponentially greater financial losses than regular fires, but governments are implementing knee-jerk changes to regulations to try and shore up the public's confidence. Seoul has a huge number of apartment blocks with underground parking, and residents are rightly concerned that an EV fire in such a car park could be disastrous. But as we shall see, the planned limit on state of charge in underground car parks to 80 or 90% will make zero difference to this risk, and we can be 100% sure of that. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. Be sure to follow me on the usual socials for more content, links in the description, and please make sure you're subscribed and have enabled all notifications so you don't miss out on any future videos. For those of you who may not have seen it, check out my video up here or link in the description to the original event where a Mercedes EQE that was not on charge, just sitting doing nothing in an underground car park, decided to self-immolate, destroying or damaging an estimated 880 other cars and causing the evacuation of scores of residents. 1,600 households were left without electricity and water for an entire week. I have said many times on this channel that the limiting factor to EV adoption may well turn out to be the nexus between fire risks and insurance. And insurers are certainly sitting up and taking notice after this event, as the Korea Times reports. Insurers review policies related to EVs following series of accidents. Insurance companies in Korea have begun reviewing their policies regarding electric vehicles, EVs, following reports of fires caused by these vehicles. With the rapid growth of the EV market and increasing vehicle sales, related fire accidents have also been on the rise. This is raising concerns that the existing insurance system, which is primarily focused on internal combustion engine vehicles, may not adequately reflect the unique characteristics and risks associated with EVs. Fears surrounding EV accidents started after a spontaneous fire, which began in a parked Mercedes-Benz EV, wiped out an entire underground parking garage filled with other vehicles in an apartment complex in Incheon on August 1st. Then, on August 16th, a Tesla caught fire in Yongin, Gyeonggi province, while the car was parked on the side of the road, further fueling the public's widespread concerns. And the following statistics are a far cry from the move along nothing to see here attitude of the US and Europe to EV fires. According to the Korea Insurance Development Institute, the number of fire and explosion incidents involving EVs has been higher than that of internal combustion engine vehicles over the past 5 years. EVs had 0.93 incidents per 10,000 vehicles, while non-EVs had a lower rate of 0.90 incidents. Moreover, the financial losses incurred in these incidents were significantly higher for EVs, with the average loss per incident tallied at 13 million won, $9,700, which is 1.9 times higher than the average of 6.9 million won for non-EVs. So, far from being far less likely to catch fire than an internal combustion engine, in these statistics they're actually more likely, and the damage is far worse. Industry officials believe that adjustments to EV insurance premiums are therefore inevitable. During a conference call for its earnings announcement on August 14th, Samsung Fire and Marine Insurance said it had received 360 claims related to the EV fire in Incheon, with the estimated damage amounting to 2.2 billion won. EVs generally have a higher loss ratio, resulting in insurance premiums that are approximately 1.4 times higher than those for non-EVs, a Samsung Fire and Marine Insurance official said. Given the differences in accident rates across various vehicle models, we plan to optimize our portfolio. That's code for jack up the premiums, by the way. I have another video coming soon which looks at how the statistics for ICE fires are regularly and systematically inflated to put clear air between them and the supposedly safer EVs. Stay tuned for that one. And the government has also stepped in to put limits on underground charging and EVs with batteries above a certain state of charge. Korea to ban fully charged EVs from parking garages after massive EQE blaze. Government officials also want to restrict public chargers from topping up EV batteries to over 80% capacity. Authorities in Seoul are so concerned with the risk of EVs catching fire that they are preparing new rules that will prevent those with a battery charged over 90% from entering underground parking garages. Earlier this month, a Mercedes-Benz EQE burst into flames while parked in an underground parking garage at an apartment complex, triggering an inferno that local media estimates damaged 880 nearby vehicles and left 1,600 households without electricity and water for a week. To try to avoid similar situations in the future, the Seoul Metropolitan Government is stepping in. In addition to restricting access to underground garages to EVs that have been charged to less than 90%, the new rules will enforce a charging limit of 80% on rapid charges through South Korea's capital city. There are also plans in place to enforce this charging cap on privately operated chargers. Korea Junang Daily says the rules could come into effect by the end of September. But there's a big problem with this. Many EV experts in the country object to the rules. According to Professor Yoon Won-sub, who heads a battery research centre run by Sungkyung-wan University and Samsung SDI, there's no evidence that fully charged batteries pose a greater risk of catching fire. Excessive charging isn't the governing factor with a fire, he said. EVs from the start are designed to never reach a full charge, even if the dashboard says they're 100%. It's an unproven argument that batteries carry a higher fire risk when fully charged. It seems a bit like a witch hunt blocking EV owners with cars charged 90% from entering underground parking lots. It's essential to come up with suitable countermeasures after a thorough discussion among experts. There was a study at an IEEE symposium in 2023 which was entitled Thermal Runaway Energy Release as a Function of the State of Charge and deals with this exact issue. Namely, how much of an effect on a battery fire is due to the state of charge, or SOC, of the battery. And the results are surprising because the answer is not a whole lot. Certainly not as much as I had expected. If you pump a bunch of energy into a battery during charging, you think that energy has to come out during combustion somehow. But what was interesting is that even at zero charge, lithium-ion batteries still contain a hell of a lot of energy to be released if they burn. The only thing that seems to change is the amount of material and gas produced. I'll leave a link to the paper in the description where you can read how the tests were carried out, but the conclusion reads as follows. While the energy released by the cell increases at higher SOC, a significant portion of energy is still released even at 0% SOC. At high SOCs, most of the energy is associated with ejector, material thrown out in other words, and gases, while at low SOCs the majority of energy is contained within the cell body. And the ratio between the energy released by the cell and the energy supplied to the cell during charging decreases with the increasing SOC. In other words, as the state of charge increases, the amount of energy released is actually smaller as a fraction of the charging energy put in. I think this is just a result of the intrinsic energy in the cell itself. But if we have a look at this one graph from the paper, you can see we have the state of charge along the bottom from 0 to 100% and the energy released on the vertical axis. You can see that the energy released at zero state of charge is still nearly half of what is released at full charge. And the difference between 100% and 90% is almost non-existent. So there's almost zero scientific basis for the 90% limit on state of charge being introduced in Seoul, and it's unlikely to make any difference to the damage caused by an EV fire if it happens again. Many EV owners are told that they shouldn't charge beyond 80% anyway, as it is just one of the very many ways that charging habits can accelerate battery degradation, so it's even less likely to make any noticeable difference. Unfortunately, the Korean government's reaction to all this is simply a knee-jerk band-aid solution, which gives the appearance of doing something but which in reality will have no effect on EV battery fires. There's only one real way to prevent this kind of thing happening again, and that is to prohibit EVs from underground car parks, period. No exceptions. If you want to park your EV, it will have to be outside or not at all. But it will be a long time before that happens, and I fear that it will take another, far more tragic event to happen before governments and lawmakers actually start taking this danger seriously.